Hey guys, good afternoon. So, thank you for joining this session. Let me start by a quick introduction. My name is Aman, and I'm heading the data platform services at Petronas. It's an energy group based out of Malaysia. So, I head the data and AI products. I build data and AI products across the group. So, we have taken a lot of bold steps in the last couple of years to reach where we are today in terms of generating insights, raising the bar in terms of data fluency. So I will share my journey, and I hope this will inspire and motivate some of you guys to experiment some of these steps in your organizations as well. So a quick reminder, don't copy any of my content. So a bit of background on Petronas, right? So Petronas is a global energy group based out of Malaysia, but we have presence in more than 100 different markets. We are the only Fortune 500 company from Malaysia, and our core product is to build and deliver energy solutions in a very responsible and sustainable manner. So last year, our total revenue was about $84 billion. We have a strength of about 40,000 employees across the globe. So we are truly a global organization. And imagine, right, so we are operating in this ecosystem for more than a few decades, like 40 plus years in existence. So we have kind of generated a plethora of data across the board. So you can cut across various businesses, whether it's upstream, downstream, midstream, different markets. And we kind of qualify for all the data dimensions, whether it's velocity, variety, volume, veracity, and value, right? So our data can be dissected in various dimensions. So it's quite colorful, right, to kind of take this challenge, bold challenge, to bring all these data sets together, unify it, and then make sense of it, and distribute insights across the group. This is another version of it. It kind of reflects we are having data which is being generated in upstream, downstream, across the group. So just to give a perspective, we have like 30 to 35 petabytes of data. So we have OT data, IT data, seismic, subsurface data, which is kind of fragmented across the group, right? And then before I go a little further, I want to give a context of our transformation journey. Actually, data is one of the key priorities we set as part of our transformation journey, which we started 2.5 years back, right? And for us, data is very, very critical. We want to actually improve the overall performance of business by deploying data and AI solutions, right? And we want to truly become a data-driven organization as we move forward, which means a lot of things to a lot of people, right? For us, it means how do we improve our business? How do we raise the productivity? How do we improve the operational efficiency of our employees, right? So customer centricity and business centricity is very, very critical in this entire journey, right? And when we started our journey, we started taking a step back. We want to understand what are the real challenges on the ground. You can imagine an enterprise operating in so many different markets with so many competing businesses and operating units. There's so many challenges across the board. One challenge was the limited data transparency, right? So data, everyone holds back their data. Nobody wants to give this data in a central system where we can process it, analyze it, distribute it, and create some meaningful insights, right? It's a typical problem I'm sure each one of you may be facing in your organizations. Restricted data accessibility, even if data is available, but it's very restricted, right? So, but easily I can say with confidence, 70% of the data can be freely available to most of the users in the organization. Only 30% is kind of restricted, which you can always kind of deliver those data sets and insights with some kind of entitlement system as well. And then, like any other organization, our data roles are kind of very loose, right? So there's no clear definitions, there are no job descriptions, right? So it's kind of, we started from ground zero, right? And then the quality of data is so important, right? Even you have data sets, even somebody allows you to get those data sets in your lake or your data hub and all, but the quality of data being produced doesn't follow any standards, right? So missing fields, missing values, it's very, very common issue across the group. And then data is trapped in silos. As I said, our environment is so colorful. There are so many data silos, right? And then I fundamentally feel the shortage of skill set is everywhere. While we see some companies have kind of retrenched people across the board over the last 1 year or so, but still the skill set we need to really drive this journey forward is kind of still scarce. It's still not available in abundance, right? And then cultural changes. Organization of our size has a lot of cultural problems, right? Resistance to change, right? And they have a fear of losing jobs, right? It's very, very common problems we have seen, right? But we took a bold steps in defining those challenges across the board, right? And then applying some guiding principles for the forward journey, right? First fundamental principle we defined is giving default access of our data across the group. But of course, in a controlled manner. It doesn't mean everyone would have access to all the data sets. But we want to make sure our users have access to the data sets they need to do the decision making on a day-to-day basis. Adaptive data governance approach. While we democratize data, we want to make sure there are enough controls in place to manage data access as well. We want to make sure all our data sets are getting unified, our knowledge base is getting unified as well. And then enterprise mindset. What do you mean by enterprise mindset? It's actually value-driven. We don't want to do so many things. We want to prioritize things as well to make sure whatever we do has a certain value for our users and for business as well. Again, raising the bar in terms of data literacy. You can imagine me operating for last so many decades. There are users who doesn't have like data-driven mindset. They don't understand how to consume data, process data, analyze data, and then use that data in the decision-making process, right? It's kind of very loose, right? So we want to make sure we start from data fundamentals, guide them. So we have created a very comprehensive curriculum for our engineers as well. And then how do we strengthen our COE? When I say COE, I think for me it means empowered autonomous teams, cross-functional teams who can actually build data and AI solutions, which means bringing roles from the business, from technology teams all together in one room, create the pod and deliver results. I think the first fundamental thing I spoke about is data democratization. And that's the most challenging task we had, actually. Because every OPU, every plant, every site we are operating wants to hold back their data. So first thing we did was kind of aligning our strategy with all the OPUs to liberalize their data. So we successfully signed up with 225 subsidiaries. We call it Data Democratization Agreement to give access to their data, and then we bring it back in our ecosystem, our unified data hub, process it, create meaningful insights, and then deliver results, right? It cut across local subsidiaries and international. This is really transformational. And I'm sure some of you may be facing very similar challenges. Then the second principle I talk about is how do we unify our data, create an ecosystem, a knowledge base, to bring all these data sets together. And the platform play we want to actually operate on should allow me to actually create data as a service, platform as a service, and also give us analytics, advanced analytics sandbox, right? So that's where we conceived the idea of building enterprise data hub, which means effectively bringing data from all our different markets, our operating units, unify it, process it, analyze it, and then build techno-digital products on top of it, right? Sorry, it's sticking. Okay. So I think I spoke about enterprise data hub, democratization of data, but it comes with a lot of responsibility, right? We want to make sure there's a robust control tower, data governance control tower in play as well, because we are serving and bringing data from so many different operating units. We centralize all our data sets. If we don't have a robust control tower framework, we may actually have issues, right? So first thing was, how do we measure the data quality across the board, right? So data quality matrices were defined in our group as well. We want to start measuring it. So we started with a data quality score in 2021 about 83%. By end of 2022, we raised it to 90%, right? Our bar is even higher. It means all those null values, missing values, issues in terms of not having data on time have been now controlled. We measure it. If we can't measure it, we can't improve it, right? Data standards, we defined very comprehensive data standards across the group, based on their domains, disciplines and everything, right? And metadata is very, very critical, right? So our data, if it's not discoverable, right, it can't be democratized. So we also created a robust metadata discovery platform to allow our business users to discover data and insights which are kind of getting created within our ecosystem. Last but not the least, data access and security is very fundamental. We make sure if the data is confidential, is private, is getting tokenized, is getting masked, right? So before it gets distributed, right? And only people who are entitled to access the data get access to the data only, right? So that's how we kind of done this. Our governance operating model has two parts. The centralized part, where we as a COE take full charge of our data in terms of defining standards, the quality matrices, but we also empower the business teams, which is why we call it decentralized assurance, to also participate. So we have nominated stewards, data stewards within each team, each business teams, to also look at the standards within their own group as well, right? So it's federated and centralized model. So I just quantified some numbers in terms of data practitioners. We have like 700 odd data practitioners, then across 15 different businesses, 750 data roles, right? So our team is getting federated. It doesn't mean everything has to be within one function, but we need to leverage business as well and ask them to nominate people within their group who can do the assurance role for us. This is the reference architecture for our enterprise data hub. It's also consume data from various data sources, whether it's SAP, OT data, IT data, all getting acquired and managed within a centralized platform, so which is powered through Databricks and a lot of other services. There are 1,000 different services we use across the board. We are a dual cloud platform, having our data residing in AWS and Azure. And on the bottom, you see there's a very strong data governance control tower as well, where we manage our data security, our metadata, discovery, everything around it, right? And then once the data get processed within our data lake, which follows the Databricks medallion architecture now, it gets served across the board through APIs. Based on if Techno Digital Products wants to consume it, we serve this data through APIs. Or we are also opening up some SQL Connect options, right, for some products like Power BI to consume data, right, for our business users as well. And then on the right-hand side is the consumption layer. We have Data Plus, which is equivalent to Unity Catalog, which is a bit more external facing. Our users are having a better experience in terms of discovering data, the metadata, and also they can discover various data assets. And they can download data assets with a click of a button, right? So that's what we have kind of, so we created this data marketplace on top of it. And we have done this for all the data sets which flows into our ecosystem. Then we also kind of deploy some models. So anyone who builds models, and if this model can be used by other business teams as well, then this model is also available on our marketplace. And we have kind of recently built a feature called Virtual Assistant or a co-pilot that kind of allow us to also unlock the value of unstructured data. Because so far, I think most of the organizations are kind of doing a lot of work around structured data, but 80% of the data in the organization typically is around unstructured as well. So we took a bold step to also process and serve and analyze unstructured data, right? So now that unstructured data is available to our users with a click of a button as well on the front end, right? So they can discover the various equipment manuals, they can look at the drawings, right? And they can actually talk to these documents, right, in an interactive manner as well. So we use some cool stuff from Azure, OpenAI, Neo4j for knowledge graphs and all to decode this whole experience. And then at the bottom, there are techno-digital applications, which are also consuming data, which gets massaged and processed in our ecosystem. Before I go further, right, I want to categorically speak about two key use cases we have done jointly with Databricks. The first is around Project Aris, which is about building smart plants, right? So in a plant, the most critical information comes from OT systems. And then this is typically historians and OCI soft kind of softwares. We get this data into Databricks, and there are easily about 1 billion records which gets processed on a daily basis. You can imagine the quantum of processing we do on a daily basis. And then historically, before Databricks, we used to process the data, but it takes about like 13 odd minutes to process data and then make it available on our dashboards. But now with the new design, we can bring it down to about less than 30 seconds. It means a lot to the users, right? So the anomaly detection becomes faster. So we can predict things for the users proactively, right? And then again, scalability kicks in, and then the same, now we can design new models on top of these data sets as well. Now there's a bit fusion of OT and IT data in our ecosystem, which is powered through Databricks, which is where the collaboration kicks in. Now these data sets are available to our 120 plus data scientists across the group. Now they can build some smart models on top of it for predictions, for reliability and all. And the other part which we have done is Project Nebula, or we call it Enigma as well internally, which is all about unstructured data I spoke about. So while we were focusing in the past, I would say 2.5 years on the structured space, for the last 6 to 8 months, we started focusing a lot on the unstructured space as well. And the reason is obvious. 80% of our data are actually sitting in the unstructured formats. Images, video files, PDFs, manuals. And we want to unlock this data, right? And the only way we can do that is by building the capabilities to decode this data and make it available to our users by a click of a button, right? I can proudly say we are among the very few forward-looking organizations who have done really knowledge mining use case using LLM. Of course, we used for now the Azure OpenAI route, but sooner or later we'll move into the foundational base models as well, and we have our own small language models to kind of decode this. I think I spoke about the enterprise mindset. I think it revolves around delivering value in the end. And we have done that through techno-digital products. And when I say techno-digital products, all our data getting unified in our enterprise data hub gets delivered to various digital projects as well, whether it's vessel data, whether it's plant data. There's so many domains, so many data sets which gets enriched, analyzed, and processed in our data hub, but also powering other digital solutions. And all those digital solutions create some kind of value for our users. So that's the data enterprise mindset we want to carry. And these use cases eventually become the champion use cases for our leaders. So we talk about this AI and data-driven solutions across the board. And then data, we also started a track called Data Adjacency, which is all about making sure we have 2,000 plus applications across the board. We want to make sure all these application data sets, if it's enterprise and it's of certain value, gets into our enterprise data hub as well. So we run a series of programs and data enablement tracks over the last 2.5 years to bring various data sets into our ecosystem. I think here are some key matrices just to share, right? So like we have kind of delivered our data to about 45 different techno-digital products, created a cumulative value of 8 billion ringgits. Of course, not only from data projects, but also the solution which we have delivered. Then the PI data gets collected from 87 different sites. We have business tenants as well, whether it's upstream, downstream, midstream. They're also using our advanced analytics sandbox. If the users are a bit more mature, they want to get access to their data sets, and they can run their own algorithms on top of it. And then I spoke about the data plus front end, which is quite transformational because we want to make sure the data assets are available to our users with a click of a button, right? And that marketplace for data assets is kind of have about 14,000 active users, about 5K data set downloads, We have a marketplace of 239 data assets, and there are about 15 odd models also available on the portal as well. At the bottom, the complexity is in the pipelines. We have 4,000 plus pipelines, 275 data sources, data size close to 190 terabytes, but we haven't included yet the unstructured data set, which is massive. So I think I also spoke about the data fluency and data literacy part, and that's very, very crucial. We are a national oil company from Malaysia, right? We want to make sure we can bring all our citizens together, especially students together as well, to participate and also deliver some value with us. So we have specifically worked with local universities to augment their modules so that they have the richer curriculum as well, so that they are kind of industry ready, and when they join us or any other organization, they can deliver data and AI solutions. And we have also done smart partnerships with the technology companies like Databricks, Amazon, and Microsoft to bring their curriculum as part of our digital academy. And we train our engineers, upskill them, and also make them productive on the new technologies. Right? At the bottom, I also spoke about like there are some community of practice thing, and then we also run a citizen analytics program, which is a 3-level program designed to upskill Petronas employees around the data and AI capabilities. So we have done various programs and curriculums in a very structured manner, right, to upskill our staff as well. The last part is about the data COE. Actually, it's data plus AI COE, right, which is all about having a cross-functional team, which consists of various skill sets. And we can actually work jointly with various resources in a cross-functional manner to deliver results. Of course, in the end, we want to make sure we generate value. We can safeguard our data assets, right? That's the whole premises to this, right? And this is the key outcome and key things we have done in terms of Petronas taking some bold steps to drive data-driven culture, right?